Mm.
Aloha. Mm.
Hello. Mm.
Good to see you.
Mm.
Mm.
If you want to look at the other pages to see people, it's nice to do. Mm.
Well, just nice to be with everyone again. I'm back in Hawaii for the moment. I gave myself a little reprieve, but I'll probably be headed back to Massachusetts at some point soon. Mm. Nice to get home for a little while. Mm. And yeah, looking forward to sitting together today. So let's get into our seated posture, whatever that might be for you right now. It's some balance of uprightness and relaxation, being careful not to strain the body, not to add too much tension to what we encounter in the sensory experience of the body, but still taking the responsibility for a certain degree of aliveness, alertness, energy with which to inspire the posture. Letting our eyes come to close, seeing if there's any tension, strain, insecurity, and letting go of this outward reach of the mind, this tendency to live in the world of concept, of responsibility to the external, the conjuring, and trust the capacity of the heart to be with the unmanipulated reality of body and mind that we're encountering right now. We are anxious about problems outside of us, in our lives, in the world. We care about these things, we worry about our well being, the well being of others. Sometimes it's hard to release from that sense of emotional responsibility for the world, for the narrative of our lives. And value the responsibility of how we relate to the direct experience of body and mind, all the sense doors as we receive them moment by moment, the constant flux and change, the corelessness, the undependability. See how hard it is to surrender to these truths. Our ideas, our worries, our wants give us a sense of control, capacity, of power. They have their place, their effectiveness. But we see their limitations as well. And we simply try to care for and observe the stream of experience that we call our life. This river, these wild currents. We don't always have a sense of our faith to be able to swim in them, cross the shore, make our way with understanding, calm, care. And so we just take our time, moment by moment, one experience at a time. Whether it's sound arising and passing away, the sensations of the breath, the rising and falling of the abdomen, one sound, one breath, one moment of rising, one moment of falling. We find we can be with one thing, steady, clear, kind. As it arises and passes, we anchor as best we can for as long as we can with some part of our direct experience that's more neutral, slightly pleasant. And see that the mind can be with changing pressure. coming together of elements, their dissipation. We may have the sense of many other things happening, the visual field and thoughts, emotions, smells, taste. We can tell that we're not seeing everything. Phenomena are coming and going outside of our full attention. Phenomena arise in the heart, in the body, in the world around us that are not so easy to be with, unpleasant, harsh, straining. We try our best to bring the same quality of equipoise, balance, genuine interest, tenderness, to recognize these phenomena also as changing, impermanent, correless, dukkha. And sometimes we find that balance again with the difficult things. And sometimes we get caught in a whirlpool, a swirling of the mind and body. You see the limits of the steadiness of our mindfulness, compassion. We come back to something easier, more basic, more neutral. Rising and falling of the breath at the abdomen, in place where the hands are making contact with the body, our knees, the hands touching one another. Just these places of changing sensation, warmth, pressure, hardness, softness. Sound coming and going. Not needing to interpret or analyze or make anything of anything. The conditions come together, fall apart. Each moment conditioning them. When this is, that is. When this increases, that increases. When this ceases, that ceases. Just watching. Understanding all of these phenomena on their own. and how they start to create this sense of stream of me and mine, of self and the dissipation of self.
Thank you, Jesse, for your instructions. Mm. Jesse bought me a new pair of headphones, and they're really different. They're very smooth and elegant, and I can hear a lot better, so it's nice. So thank you, Jesse. Mm. There are many, I think, religious traditions at springtime that fall back into more ancient practices. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay. I can't, it is different, more subtle. Um, so yesterday we bought some hot cross buns for Easter time, which kind of has a rich history in my cultural background, but I'd never really investigated it or looked it up, or even the word Easter. So it's interesting that the hot cross bun, the cross, goes way back, and the cross on the top represents the four seasons or the four phases of the moon. And then it's like the Greeks and Romans offered these kinds of roles in tribute to the goddess of the morning, which is spelled EOS. And then the goddess, they're in tribute or offerings to the goddess of light, which is spelled EOSTRE, which is the word Easter. That's where the word Easter comes from, the goddess of the morning and the goddess of light. And even the word bun comes from the word for the ceremonial cakes and breads called bun. So I think for me, that's always, on the one hand, I can't believe I'm 73 and I don't know this, but it's never too late. So I thought that again, in terms of the northern hemisphere or even the southern hemisphere, when spring happens, I think that it's often such a evocative and poignant time. And often again, I think that just that metaphor for renewal coming out of a heart that is going through winter of some kind. So in terms of our particular times where there are levels where I think the suffering is so intense, like winter, there can be such a roller coaster of fear or anger or grief that can we can fall into the black hole. That spring really represents any time we can crawl out of that hole, right? And feel a renewal of heart, whether it's every second or every morning or night or day or week. How incredibly important it is. I felt when our donation from Metadana got into Sagaing in Burma, when we heard that the funds got in, it felt like a candle. We lit a candle there. It felt so moving. to me. Still tear up, and we have more to send. Um, and it's so needed. So last week we talked a bit about not being able to experience loving kindness for ourselves. And I just wanted to touch on that briefly in terms of this relationship we might have to this metaphor for spring in the heart. That I see partly that we really have to face our limitation with loving kindness or compassion or empathetic joy, equanimity, that we really do need all four Brahma Viharas to at times genuinely experience without conditions, right? Is loving kindness is the heart that can wish well without condition, no matter what, for ourselves when we can't, even when we can't do it, that we have that sense that we can wait, that it's possible. And I really appreciate the way I learned it traditionally. I really appreciate that the teaching is you cannot experience loving kindness through willpower. You cannot force it. You cannot do it out of fear or anger or grief, right? Or wanting. It can only come through loving kindness. It's loving kindness which is kind. So that teaching that I felt that Upandita did not explain, Sayadaw Upandita did not explain, but just put really immersing myself in it for 2 months the first time and just seeing over and over that going to what's easy and facing the limitation of that and seeing that you keep moving to what's easy or easier, that's the anchor. And then if you can't do that, you switch, you go to compassion or you go to empathetic joy or equanimity, right? And if you can't do that, right, it's like it's always that sense of like, okay, try this, try this. And then if nothing works, you wait. That you just like really get that it's okay to be humble and that you can't force anything. So it's that sense that you can't break the barrier with yourself and yourself, or yourself with another, or yourself with all beings, unless there's love and kindness. You can't do it through the wanting it to be there. It's so beautiful. It's so true. So it's love that breaks the barrier. And that's why love is so powerful. Mm. And as Jesse was teaching this afternoon here in Hawaii, but it's like that sense of finding the neutral in the Vipassana practice, cultivating more of the neutral rather than the intensity of experience itself, but finding that calm. Again, it's like there's a level to that where we um, shift out of that attachment to experience itself. It's a very similar thing with finding the anchor in loving kindness, not needing it to happen a certain way, but finding our way through the loving kindness. Many of you have heard me mention that I love the way Sayadaw U Pandita would say the word apamada. It always felt like he said it a little bit differently each time with such gentleness. So the word apamada means carefulness, and it's the opposite is being heedless, not being careful, and that means every moment. Yeah, every way we speak or every way we brush our teeth. It's like it's coming out of such a deep respect for life itself. And I think that for me, rereading certain poems is often such an unexpected surprise. Like I'll feel like, oh, I've never understood this before. And I certainly in the last few years of more and more dukkha in the world, I have read this in my talks many times. Um, and it's not even the whole poem, but it's definitely I think so beautiful for these times. It's from Wang On Shi, from his late poems. Maybe I'll read the whole thing. It's called Chance. Work failing. I'm shamed by my image in water. And now world dust fills my eyes again. It's grief to see mountains, smoke and haze, all boundless silence south of the river. There isn't much keeping me here among people's houses. Dawn lights up the room. I close my book and sleep, dreaming of Bell Mountain and full of tenderness. How do you grow old living with failure and disgrace? Stay close to the cascading creek, cold, shimmering, full of tenderness. Can we bring that into these times? Just the tenderness, the appamada as a practice. How important not to get caught up where we would lose this care and tenderness and gentleness. Staying close to the cascading creek. One of the things that I was struck by when I first met what we call the mother cat, but mother feral cat now, was that she had a way of moving through the world, very gentle, slow, careful. And in recent years, I've met a mockingbird here that is very elusive. It seems to hang out at the compost, and now it's hanging out at a neighbor's compost pile, but I rarely see it, which sort of makes it even more awesome to see that this mockingbird moves very gently, very carefully. It's like the mockingbird teaches me this kind of tenderness. It's so powerful, and it's such a, I think for so many it will look like not a special bird, but actually it's an incredible teacher. And why I'm talking about this is when we can't access the practice, that we can learn how to practice outside of ourselves so much from nature if we take the time. I wrote a haiku the other day. Partly it's like with the Vog from the volcano. We're on episode 18. Often there is not a clarity around even the shape of a cloud or the horizon. And so this day it was here you would now call it clear. It's probably hazy, but I've lost my perspective on what clear or hazy would be. But I wrote soft clouds whispering, soften the harsh clarity, soften your steps now. And I felt like the clouds were actually whispering to me how to soften my steps more. Yeah, like it's like tenderness. And the word clarity, I think I'm interpreting for my own poem, but there's a way in which Jesse talked about investigation last week, and that the factor of enlightenment investigation is often described as um, going from a dark room to where a light bulb, you turn the light on. And often I think we try to turn that light on, but the motivation is out of trying to get something or trying to get rid of something. We're trying to understand how things are, how life is, or even what's happening with a step. We try to understand it, but it's actually the motivation isn't pure. And it's like loving kindness is what's loving kind. Investigation is pure exploration. If it's coming out of fear, it isn't investigation. If it's coming out of greed, it's not investigation. It's just greed is trying to assert itself, right? But it's the motivation is off. So often that appamada, the tenderness is just shifting into that softness of investigation, of just being with it, just being with things as they are. And that's equanimity, the deep equanimity of accepting things as they are, which it can include waiting for loving kindness. It can include not being with things as they are. It's holding that with this deeper acceptance of things as they are. And one of the odd gifts of the Vog is that I have an attachment to the night sky because I'm so busy with caregiving these days that often that's the only time I have. Uh, and this time of year, there's the Southern Cross and the Big Dipper. So there in the south, there's a Southern Cross, and just for a little bit of time at night. But right now it's the time of night that one can appreciate, like 11 p.m. Till for a little while. The Southern Cross only comes up a little bit here in this latitude and sets, and the Big Dipper is out. And I feel like there's always been a sense that I can navigate by that better than anything, other than the Buddhist teachings. But it's not very visible. So when it is visible, like I'm describing this day, this day where a lot was visible, it's so incredible. Like, right? It's like, it feels like more of a gift than ever. So this busyness can cut into the quality time, that I like to have. And my biggest litmus test for it is the cats, the three feral cats. They're in different areas of the house, and I'll step outside, and one of them, she'll just look at me and she'll be like, "Please with me, can't we have just a little bit of quality time. And I'll be like, "I gave some to you yesterday," and then I'll be like, "Okay, 1 minute, we're gonna have 1 minute of quality time," and it's so funny, really. They get it. They're like, "Okay," each one of them will be like, "Okay, 1 minute, we got it. Yes, capitan. Yeah, we got it. We're gonna have 1 minute," and, I'll so appreciate their need for connection, and I'll feel badly that I can't do it longer, but actually, I see they appreciate that I'm trying. These very beautiful aspects of nature. And I'm describing, again, these places in life, these places in nature that are so moving. And often they're not that often, particularly if you're busy. But the other day, because the visibility was because of the trade winds. So it's been very, with global climate change, the weather is so different, and there's just not much trade wind, not much trade wind, not very good, not much, no rain, right? And this one day that I'm describing, when I got back to my home many years ago, Jesse put up a gong under a hala tree. It's connected to a hala tree, and it very, very rarely makes a sound. In fact, there are often times when I look at it and I'm like, I wonder if I'm ever going to hear that again. It's so rare. And the winds have to be, I guess they have to be at the right angle or it won't ring it. And this day it was ringing it, except that it was so unpredictable. It actually allowed me to take the opportunity to sit down in this place that we have a little stump, but I don't do it anymore. I think I can speak for all of us. There are just ways that we don't do things that would be good to do. So I sat down, and the level of uncertainty, I'm leading into mortality here, by the way. The level of uncertainty and unpredictability was so intense, but it was so deeply joyful. It was like just like unbelievably joyful. Like that there would be just somehow, every 10 minutes or so, there'd be this incredible gong. And it was so utterly out of my control. It was so unpredictable. And it's so important for us to understand the different aspects of uncertainty, right? And that day again, s- strangely, there was so much that happened and so much to learn. Like there was a dragonfly, and there's not many dragonflies here. It's a drought. You rarely see them. But it was very windy, so you wouldn't think I would have seen one at all. But this dragonfly was like jumping into the air current while I was waiting for the gong. I thought it would jump in and then vanish, just like fly away so fast. And then I would see it suddenly appear, and it was just trying to get into the wind and get up the driveway, and then it would turn around and let go and fly again. And it was just again this zooming, vanishing, fun. Just like the unpredictably, the movement, the unexpected movements were fun, and the Vogue being um, at bay. So the winds and the Vogue were playing, but the winds were winning. What a day, huh? But this is what goes on inside of us. When does the delusion win, right? When does the fear win? When does the anger win? When does the hopelessness win, right? And just like, how are we relating to how that happens? And how can we be flexible and alive and accepting of how that's playing out? because when you look carefully at vitaka vichara, at concentration itself, it's always good to come back into the tradition, like going to what's easy with the loving kindness, or what is concentration, and that ability to connect the attention to something, to an object, right? And sustain it with it. This is the basis of connection. It's the basis of intimacy with life itself, with experience. Can we do that? Or it's all basically memory, right? It's all basically a dream that we're not even in reality. We're not even in reality. And so we connect, we sustain, and just like the dragonfly, you run with it, right? And it's meant to be not through the thought process. And every moment is living and dying. It literally every moment. This is what Vipassana is. It's learning over and over again how to be with uncertainty, how to be with the unexpected, and how much we want to control this. We want to like step back into an awareness that's eternal, but it isn't possible. Awareness is arising and passing with each object, right? And when we don't like it, we try to go to something neutral or stay with one object. Yeah, just to stand it, just to withstand it. That's fine. That's good practice. But we have to see that we're trying to protect ourselves from impermanence. We're trying to control it. And the beauty of Vipassana is those moments when, just like that dragonfly, you can jump into that stream of change and what? Vanish. That's what's happening moment by moment anyway. What's happening moment by moment is living, dying, living, dying, living, dying, living, dying, living, dying, dying. And when we're right in it, we see that the awareness and the object disappears at the same time. Over and over. This is where the disenchantment with experience happens. This is where the anatta understanding, well, anicca dukkha and anatta, right? It's like we really get that experience isn't controllable because it's impermanent. And this is not just like nothing. The more we get it, the more we see that there's less and less need for controlling out of fear or controlling out of anger or controlling out of greed, right? It's like the Buddha wanted us to be happy. He wanted us to be peaceful and happy. It was the only reason he was willing to even try to teach us, because this is not easy. You can look at it with the popularization of the Dhamma, the popularization of mindfulness. Is this what's being taught? Of course, particularly because of what's happening for Jesse's mom, it's like, of course, the revisiting of mortality in a very deep way. It's like thinking about just like birth. Birth is still relatively predictable, right? You have 9 months, and I mean, my older sister went like, what was it? She was due in mid-June or something, and Tracy was born early August. And those days they didn't necessarily try to rush it. But I remember my brother-in-law was taking her on boat rides and trying to get her to be in the big waves. He was taking her for car rides and swishing the car back and forth. But boy, that kid, she's still like that. She does it all her way on her time. It's just like how she was. And it was great. But still, she couldn't stay in there forever, right? You can't stay in the womb forever. At some point, even if you're trying to drag your feet or you're in a hurry, if you're in too much of a hurry, right, that doesn't work either, but you come out, right? And so, but with death, I think our fear of death is so intense because you just can't control it. You can't. That great African proverb, death knows no kings. You can try to expectation, anticipation, but I think that that deep fear of uncertainty, right? Unpredictability. That's why I started with all the beautiful aspects of uncertainty, the joyful aspects of unpredictability, the aliveness of it. That's happening with each breath. We never know when we're going to die. All conditioned things are arising and passing away. All conditioned things. Everything in the mind and body. All conditioned things. Devas, Brahmas, everything arises and passing away. Anything that appears will pass away. Understanding this brings the greatest kind of happiness, which is peace, right? Peace. And I think, again, that I'm not going to spend time on this, but the four heavenly messengers and the four guardian meditations, you see, like death is considered so important. It's on both lists, right? The four heavenly messengers, old age, disease, death, but also peace, a mendicant. So here's this heavenly messenger of death, and then someone more peaceful than peace itself. And then the four guardian meditations, they're guardians, reflections on the qualities of the Buddha, 32 parts of the body, loving kindness and death. And of course, the way the happy Sayadaw taught the four guardian meditations is so beautiful, but just focusing on the last one, when he said, when I do, he did, it's like these people do these practices for years and years and years. On my in-breath, I say, everyone I know will die. On my out-breath, I say, I too will die. But remember, he said, and you know what? What? When I die, I'm not going to be surprised. Ha, 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 ha. That's infectious. That's light. Like he really meant it. He was light. You didn't get any sense that that guy was going to have trouble. Why? Because he spent years accepting it, facing it. And years means something. Years means it takes like that you have to actually practice facing it. That it's not like sometimes I think people think, well, I can't do it, which is so funny. But, it's like tenderness is a practice. Appamada is a practice, right? All these things are a practice and they take time. Some of you have heard me talk about how my sister she has a lot of, peripheral artery disease and Raynaud's disease and neuropathy. And we didn't know that she had scleroderma until recently. And she had to have her toe amputated. And we thought she had a surgery for putting some stents in her leg where the peripheral artery disease had blocked the flow of the blood. So I really thought that meant she wouldn't have to face more issues with her toes. But um, she is. And it might it might prevent amputation, but I have a new place in my mind in my yard where I put disappointment now. It's like, okay, disappointment. We're just going to put it out in the yard in this big basket. Like it's filling up, but it's got some room still. So here's this disappointment. But I haven't had time to color, and I did today. And you know, we grew up a long time ago outside of Boston with Easter, so we have a certain way that we joke about it. I hope you can understand. It's not meant to be irreverent, but it's just how we grew up. So I said to her, "Well, have you risen up today? That means have you risen up like Jesus, right?" And there was long, a long silence. So I knew she's really funny. And she said, so I was waiting, and she said, "Well, I got up from my chair." And I just went into hysterics. Like, I loved it. It's so deep. It's so deep because that is Easter for her every day to be able to even get up out of her chair. And she means it. It's like rising up from the dead, right? She's doing it every day, and she's trying to get to the bathroom, but it's hard. There's no doubt. But it's also like unbelievably beautiful. I hope I can be that gracious about it. I got up out of my chair. It's wonderful. It's not like she's that funny about it all the time by any means, but there you go. Sometimes you can. And it reminded me today of Basho is a great haiku poet many years ago in Japan. And his way of practicing, a lot of it was going on pilgrimages. And it was very difficult in Japan in that time period to go on pilgrimages. So he has a haiku. I come weary in search of an inn. Ah, these wisteria blossom. I wish this for all of us now. I really wish this kind of way of relating to being worn out and, searching for home. Home is being with things as they are, right? Just that they're all can be metaphors, right? But it's like for him, he was searching for an inn for days and so worn out. And here were these wisteria blossoms, spring again, yeah. And there's that surrender quality to it. Like my sister got it, getting up out of the chair is really deeply Easter. It's a surrender. It's this surrender to things as they are. So we remember old age, disease, right? Death, peace, all conditioned things are arising and passing away. Understanding this brings the greatest kind of happiness, which is peace. This is really that navigating with love and wisdom. We want to hold on to love, but it's impermanent, right? Why love if we're going to lose it? But of course, we love, right? We connect. We connect with that courage to understand everything is impermanent. That's life. That's freedom. So, as I said, I've been rereading a lot of poems and surprisingly found a poem that I'm going to end with. It's Li Po, the ancient Chinese great poet. I've read parts of this poem and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's a little long. I'm going to read a little longer than usual, like a sonata. It's called Autumn River Songs. And I might say, like, I think as we do grow older, there's a way I think, are meant spiritually to face our aloneness and our connections more and more. You know, that there can be a valuing and a respect for both the, the solitude and the connections and navigating them more tenderly and with more wisdom and love. Brahma-vihara. Autumn River Songs. Long like autumn, all desolate silence. Autumn river will return you to sorrow. Unable to gauge this wanderer's sorrow, I climb Talu Mountain to the east and gaze west into Chang'an distances. Looking down at the river flowing past, I call out to its waters. So how is it you'll remember nothing of me, and yet you'd carry this one handful of tears so very far, all the way to Yangchu? Autumn rivers, white gibbons seem countless, a dancing flurry of leaps, snowflakes flying, coaxing kids out of the branches. They descend and in a frolic drink at the moon in water. Wandering autumn river in sorrow, I gaze into autumn river blossoms fiercely. Soon it rivals Yenseng for lovely mountains and streams. And for wind and sun, it's another Changsha. Of these thousand-fold autumn river peaks, water-wheel mountains unrivaled, heaven tipped over, rock nearly pouring down, and the water sweeps trees clean of moss. There's a flake of rock on Shangsu Peak, a painted screen, azure heaven sweeps clean. The poem inscribed here keeps all boundless antiquity alive. Green words and moss brocade. A million rock cedars spread away here, 100 million stands of privet trees, and white egrets fill endless mountains. But white gibbons on stream after stream howl. Stay away from autumn river. Gibbon cries shatter a wanderer's heart. Sentinel Rock, midstream at Birdpath Mountain. Ancestor River appearing at Angler Bridge. In wild water, the boat flies downstream. Mountain flower scents rinsing my face clean. The river is a bolt of bleached silk, and earth stretches away into heaven. I can ride bright moonlight, ascend on this boat, gazing at blossoms. 30,000 feet of white hair. It seems grief began that long ago. And yet, in the bright mirror, I wonder where all this autumn frost came from. Hardly ashore at Clear Creek, I hear it. Clarity, a voice of such perfect clarity. At dusk, in farewell to this mountain monk, I bow in deep reverence to white cloud. Mm. In other words, solitude pays off. The refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha pays off. Letting the sorrow going on the river of riding the sorrow into being rinsed clean to the reverence for peace. Reverence for peace, rinse clean. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this.
Thank you, Michele. And thanks, everyone, for joining us again today. Hope you take care. We hope to see you next Sunday.